Let's settle ourselves in meditation. We can start this meditation with 3 long and deep breaths. You can close your eyes or gaze softly in front of you. Your head is tilted a little bit. Just observe your breathing. Be aware of each breath because each breath is precious. Breathing in, I'm aware of my in-breath. Breathing out, I'm aware of my out-breath. While we are breathing, our mind wanders. Just gently invite the mind back to the body through mindful breathing. Breathing in, I'm aware of my whole body. Breathing out, I relax my body. In, aware of body. Out, relax the body. Now that you have established a rhythm of breathing mindfully, let us explore our feeling in the body. Breathing in, I'm aware of a prominent feeling in my body. Breathing out, I am there for that feeling. In, aware. Out, be with the feeling. With mindful breathing, be aware of different thoughts that are occurring in your mind, and with each thought, just say that I know I have this thought and I let it go. Breathing in, knowing, breathing out, letting go. Now that we have established a strong foundation of mindful breathing. We want to use this practice to nurture our inner strength. Using that strength, we send love, compassion to people who we love and to everyone. Breathing in, I'm aware of my inner strength. Breathing out, I radiate this strength of love and compassion to people around me. In, aware, out, radiates. Now let's take a long and deep breathing in to take in all the positive energy of the world. And when we breathe out, take all the defilements, negative emotion, and release them all. That concludes our meditation together today. And again, you can rub your hand together to make it warm and then put on your face. Thank you for your practice, and I appreciate you for being here today. Your commitment is what makes this class and our spiritual growth possible. So we will keep doing this together. So some of you ask, how long will we be finished with this sutra? So the answer is as long as it takes, because I'm aware that many of you are beginners in Buddhism, and many of you are, advanced practitioners. So for the sake of those who are beginners, we will take our time, right? And for those who are, deep in learning Buddhism, you can help me, on the way to help other people understand more, different aspects of Buddhist practice. By answering questions, share your experiences with the whole group, okay? And I'm also aware that when you learn about commitment, you want to know how long should you have to commit, right? So the question could be answered by asking yourself, how long do you need to practice in order to become a Buddha or a Bodhisattva, right? So this is a lifelong journey. And a good thing is that on spiritual journey, you don't have to travel. You just be there, The best way to be on this journey is to be. You don't have to go or travel, okay? So that is a few questions from our friends. And I'm sure that you all do the gratitude journal practice. 5 things that you are grateful for. If you cannot do that every day, maybe at least once a week, because it is so important. Because that is when you kind of invite good qualities to your life. So I want to make sure that everybody does that. Okay, so last week we...
Hey, can I just interrupt you? I wrote it. So when you first gave us this assignment, I wrote something. Can I read it?
Sure, yes, go ahead.
Okay. So I wrote, this was like April 1st. I wrote, when Thay Tam first gave us this assignment, my original thought was, this is going to be easy. I was wrong. But the more and more I thought about it, the more complicated it became. And it was because I'm so grateful for a lot. So the more I put into it, I put it into categories to make it easier for myself. This is listed from thoughts that I had when I was writing it out, and not by order of importance or prioritizations. Because truth be told, it doesn't apparent to me. So that's...
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else want to share what they wrote? What things that they are grateful for? You don't have to share, but keep the practice. And I want to give you an opportunity to ask or to share during my, sharing, that you can raise your hand or just jump in and ask or share, I don't mind you do that, okay? So just interrupt whenever you have a question or something you want to share, okay? So last week we started our sutra with the setting, and we haven't finished the setting yet, right? So today we will continue the setting, and we will have 2 friends who will be reading the setting again. So this is a practice of chanting in Vietnamese Buddhism. it is very common that people chant every single day. So we do this chanting or reading every week, even though it is repeated, right? So please share the setting, and I would like to invite, I think, Thay, and Thay will go. Is Thay today, here today?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so yes, we can hear you. All right.
Okay, 1. The setting. This is what I heard one time when the Buddha was staying in the monastery at Anathapindika's park in the Jeddah Grove near Sravasti with a community of 1,250 bhikkhus, fully ordained monks. That day, when it was time to make the rounds for alms, the Buddha put on his Sangati robe and, holding his bowl, went into the city of Sravasti to seek alms for food. Going from house to house, when the alms round was completed, he returned to the monastery to eat the midday meal. Then he put away his Sangati robe and his bowl, washed his feet, arranged his cushion, and sat down.
Thank you. So this setting is, we have already explored a little bit about the setting where the sutra occurred before the Buddha taught this sutra. And someone asked, so before the Buddha and the Sangha, which is the community of monastic, monks and nuns, so they went for alms, for alms round, right? But why nowadays we don't see many Mahayana monks or nuns go for rounds in the morning? But in Thailand, we do see monks, and in Burma, Myanmar, Cambodia, those Theravadin countries, monks still go for alms in the morning. This is the practice of early tradition, which is called Theravada tradition, right? When Buddhism was transmitted to China, the empress at that time venerated the monastic sangha, and she said that those who are venerated shouldn't go beg for food. You stay there and we will bring offering to you. Also, the practice of rice cultivation. So monasteries were given land to cultivate their own food, so they don't have to go for alms in the morning anymore, right? So that's why nowadays you don't see many Mahayana monks go for alms. Yes, Thailand is a prominent practice for people in Thailand, for monks in Thailand to go for alms every single morning. Yeah. All right. So last time we learned about when the Buddha went for alms every morning. He did it regularly and every day, right? And the phrase "when the alms round was completed," I think it has, the alms round was completed. It has two meanings. The first one is that he completed his round. No house is avoided. His first task of the day is finished with discipline. And the second meaning is that he had enough food for the day, right? He is content. It is a sense of fulfillment. No more seeking, no more yearning, right? So he completed his first task because that was enough, enough food for the day. Sometimes, you know, we suffer because we don't feel that we have enough, right? So we think we are not enough. The completion of his round suggests that whatever spiritual projects or practice we take on, we should complete it, right? So don't do it halfway. It's like boiling water. So the boiling degree is supposed to be 100 degrees Celsius or 212 Fahrenheit, right? But if you boil a pot of water every day, you know, and then you just boil it until 50 degrees Celsius. So when will you have boiling water, right? So you have to complete, you have to finish what you started. You don't do, if you set out like, okay, today I'll do a half an hour meditation, you do that. You don't do like, oh, I'm tired, I just maybe just 20 minutes. It's still good, but it's not boiling yet. The water is not boiling, it's not boiled yet, right? Or if you have a difficult emotion and you want to understand or transform that emotion, and yet when you try to get closer to that emotion, you feel it's hard, right? Some emotion you want to transform it, but it's so hard. So when you face it, you get closer to it, it becomes hard, difficult to deal with, and you abandon it. So that is doing it halfway. You have to get really, you know, close and get intimate, be present with that emotion whenever or regardless of how difficult it is, you know. So that is how we try to transform difficult emotion, right? It is hard, but the Buddha did not give up. The Buddha finished. He completed every round in the morning. So we, as his, you know, followers or you know, students, should try to complete what we start. The second meaning is the contentment, because the Buddha said craving is the source of all suffering. It is the second of the Four Noble Truths. So there's a teaching in Buddhism for those who are new to Buddhism, which is called Four Noble Truths. Four Noble Truths are, first one, suffering. Second is the cause of suffering. Third is the end of suffering. And fourth is the way to end suffering. So the second truth is that craving is the cause of all of our suffering. Let's just think for a while, for a little bit. Is craving the cause of our suffering? Wanting, desiring. In craving, it does not have to do with what we already have, you know. It is the sense that we want more. And in the wanting is the source of all problems. There are 5 things that the Buddha called 5 worldly desires: wealth, beauty, fame, food, and sleep. Of those 5, which one do you crave the most? He said, craving makes us feel that we will never have enough of those. You know, in modern consumerism culture, everything could be solved, you know, with buying more, right? If you have a problem, they will advertise you to buy more, whether it is a product or a course or a program, you buy and you will solve your problem. That is the consumerism for you there. And they target our craving, you know. If you acquire this, you will be happy, or if you buy this, you'll be happy. And the more we buy, the less happy we are, right? So in this culture, that is very dangerous thing that we have to be aware of. When you buy more, you feel a sense of fulfillment, but for a short while, right? So being able to be content is a practice, and American society is not happy with contentment, right? We are taught to be, you know, you have to gain more, get more, consume more. So, you know, it does not mean that you have to stop working or stop earning. That's very wrong. It is a sense that whatever we have is whatever we need, you know. What I need is not similar to what I want, right? If I have more through my work, I may be able to share with others, right? Sharing is the highest form of contentment. Many people misunderstand contentment with having less. It's not, you know. When we are content, we are still doing whatever we do to support our life and to share with other people. But when we are passive, we think contentment is passive, then we waste our life and the chance to help people, right? So the second meaning of this phrase is to be content with what we have. And also the Buddha ate once a day, right? He just ate his lunch, and he ate once a day, right? So remember 5 kinds of worldly desires. Food is one of them, right? Everybody needs food to survive. The nature of food itself is neither good nor bad, right? It is something that we use to nurture our physical body. Too little or too much of food will become something that imbalances our body, right? So when the body is imbalanced, there will occur something we call disease, right? So before people died because of hunger. Now people die because of eating too much or eating without consideration. Consideration, is that the yeah? So people eat without being aware of what they consume, right? So I have observed people nowadays, you know, when people go out to eat, their criteria when choosing a restaurant are so many. Like they look on Google to see the reviews. So the first thing they eat is the review, not the food, right? So if they read a good review, they feel satisfied and they will go to that restaurant. But if the first thing they read is the bad review, so okay, I'm not going there. So the first thing they decide when they go out is reading review. And if you have criteria, you are extremely lucky. Why? In the past or now in many poor countries, you know, many people just want to have food. They don't have any criteria, right? So if you have, you are lucky, you know. You know, when we even read ratings or stars when we go to a restaurant. Sometimes we eat with our perceptions first. Remember perceptions? If a restaurant has 4 or 5 star in review, in rating, we want to eat there. And that is how we eat with our perception, right? When we are there in the restaurant, the kids play with phones or iPads, adults talk while eating. If the food is not as good as the reviews, who do you blame? We should blame ourselves, blame our perceptions. We are not really there with the food to appreciate, how many hands and how much effort that many people come together for the food, to be present. You could say that, I pay money, so I should receive good food and good service. Yes, we are all entitled for both, right? Good food and good service. But remember, we are good practitioners, right? We are diamond transformers, so we shouldn't be entitled to those perceptions. Instead of ruin our dinner with perception, we should appreciate, I think, because the Buddha ate once a day, and he is content with whatever he was given. And now we have choices, we have criteria. Which one is my favorite restaurant? Which one had the best food, Asian food, Mexican food, still trying to be a good practitioner requires an awareness of everything we think and we choose in our life. Going for alms and receiving food and eat whatever you are given is actually an interesting practice that I had an experience when I was in Thailand. So I was in Thailand for 4 years, studying different Buddhist traditions. And one of my Thai friends who is a monk, and he invited me to, to go for alms with him. So it was the first time I went for alms, and I was nervous and also excited at the same time. I was nervous because I was not sure how people would perceive me, as someone different than their regular monk. I was excited because it was the first time doing something, that is fun and transformative. The experience was very humbling. I received alms food from people. I was so grateful as if tears would come out when I received the food. It was not so much about the food. It was something else. The boundary between oneself and others becomes blurry. The giving and the receiving, were no longer clear. So the act was so natural, So when I received the offering, when I walked barefoot and followed those monks, it was as if I returned to the Buddha's time, to the practice. Whenever I went to Thailand, that friend always invites me to go for alms with him, and I love doing that with him. In Buddhism, the Buddha categorized food into 4 types. 4, not just one, okay? 4. So each represents different aspects of nourishment for our being. So the first type of food is what we consume through our mouth, the most tangible form of substance. So we call it edible food, right? The second one is the food of sense impressions. So this refers to the intake of stimuli through our remaining 5 senses, like sight, hearing, smell, touch, and mental perception. Everything we see, we hear, we smell, we touch, and experience through our mind contributes to our overall nourishment. It is essential that these stimuli are wholesome and beneficial for our well-being. So let's say if you watch a movie, that is food. That is food for you. Because you consume those sound, you consume the images of the movie, and it impacts your mind, your whole being, right? The third type of food is volitional thoughts. Volitional thoughts is our deepest wishes and aspirations. Like it is our innermost desire and motivations. Those of us who aspire for noble ideals, such as helping others, promoting harmony, and working toward social transformation process, a healthy source of right aspiration. So that is very nurturing. When you have a sense of strong purpose, it is very transformative and nurturing. And the fourth type of food is consciousness. So the influence of collective consciousness is also extremely important. So now we are in American society. The collective consciousness of this society is consumerism, individualism, and these collective consciousness influence our mind, our way of thinking. Even when I first got here, people advised me that if you see someone who kind of in trouble, don't help. If you help, you get into trouble because they may sue you. I was so shocked by this kind of culture, but that is the collective consciousness of this modern society. So our consciousness is shaped by prevailing attitude, beliefs, and behaviors in the society we live in, right? So exposure to negativity, violence, and hatred in our environment can nurture negative quality in us, and vice versa. So it is very crucial to evaluate our surroundings, people we interact regularly, So surround yourself. Maybe we cannot choose the society that we live in. We are in our own kind of society, whether in America or in Asia, right? But maybe we can choose smaller surrounding, which is our friends, our environment, who people who we interact with. Those people influence our consciousness, and our consciousness is the factor that influence our behaviors. So return to this setting. The Buddha. These activities of the Buddha seem to be very mundane, like the ones we are doing every day. A repetition. Every day he did that for his whole life. It's like your schedule. It's like you wake up, go to the bathroom, eat breakfast, go to work, meet your co-workers, do the work, and go home, make dinner, go to the bathroom, go to sleep. And then you do that over and over and over again next day, right? Sometimes we do it with mindfulness. but sometimes we don't, right? So it is important to do it with intention. Many people ask me, you know, if I have a really difficult work environment, how do I do it with mindfulness and compassion? Your intention determines how you contribute to build a better workplace. For example, if you have a hard, challenging work environment, you know, maybe you cannot solve that problem because maybe that is a toxic environment, but your intention could be something like, okay, when I go to this, in your mind, okay, intention, set intention in your mind that when I go to work, I will appreciate the humanness of my colleagues. Even their apparent behaviors may trigger something in me. It's not me who can change that behaviors, but it is me who can change my attitude, my intention towards them, right? So that is a way that we can contribute positively into that work environment. So we can do that with everything that we do repeatedly every day. When you wake up, you know, give yourself a smile, saying that, oh, now I am waking up, I'm so lucky. I have a new 24 hours to live and to contribute to society. Don't wake up and say, oh, another day of working and, you know, challenging. When you wake up, remember, many people don't, right? So your attitude, your intention matters when you do things that, you know, you have your schedule, you do things repeatedly with a good intention. You can live a really great life regardless of how much you have, you know. Repetition is not just a human phenomenon or human activity, right? Many animals also repeat their behaviors. Every day we repeat our normal routine. We do it, I guess, sometimes mindlessly because we know what to do, right? What to do next. We still function, you know, but we have to ask ourselves, okay, I do this work, I repeat this every day. What is my intention that contribute to bring joy to my life? A life that I receive, a life that is so precious that not many people are privileged to have, right? So again, the Buddha opened the sutra with the setting of his repeated action every day. So, you know, it is a practice to remind us about the meaning of the sutra and also about our repetitive behaviors. Be mindful, you know, of your reading when you see a repetition in the sutra. Going on, you know, we will see a lot of repetition in the sutra. You know? Be mindful of your reading, your action when you repeat them. Again, the setting is an important aspect of any sutra or any kind of successful program. See the collective consciousness, that is your setting in life. You know, we have our setting, we have people behind everything that we receive, right? Some people may overlook the setting because they want to dive immediately into the sutra and see what is going on in there, and they get that. But if we don't value the setting, we miss something, right? And importantly, without setting, there would be no sutra, there would be no Dharma sermon, right? So there would be no teaching, there would be no tradition. So the setting is extremely important. And also your setting, make sure to situate yourselves in a good setting, and so that you and your later generations will benefit from it. Because your setting is like, again, the collective consciousness is the kind of food that we maybe mindlessly consume every day. So suppose you are mindful of what you eat healthy, in terms of edible food, but then the consciousness food is something that we are not aware of, and now we have to be aware of that too, right? So ask yourself, what kind of life setting am I in right now? Is it nurturing, or is it deteriorating? We have the big collective American society, Western society, or Asian society, but then look closer to see a smaller setting that we are in, to see what is your setting, how is it impacting your life, right? Okay, so that is the setting, and we have just finished the setting. Congratulations, we finished something we started. We conquered the setting, and I see some question in the chat, so let's dive into this question. Can you define suffering, Christina? Ask a question. So suffering in Buddhism, there's a term called dukkha. Dukkha can be loosely translated as suffering, but in suffering doesn't really convey the whole meaning of the word dukkha. So dukkha is like dissatisfactoriness. Okay, dissatisfactoriness, the nature of that in all life, right? So when you want to have a cake, you desire a cake, right? So if you say, if I have that cake, if I can eat that cake, I will be happy, right? So you go to the store, you buy the cake, and then you consume the cake, with happiness. Would that happiness stay with you forever? Or you were happy for 5 minutes, and then, now I ate a lot of things and now it's hurt my stomach. So that is the dissatisfactoriness, the nature of of the word dukkha is like that. There's always constantly craving for something. So there are different types of suffering, physical and mental suffering, right? We will encounter many kinds of suffering along the way. For example, if you have a headache, that is a suffering. If you have difficult emotion, that is suffering. So in general, suffering is everywhere, and we are on that boat together. So you're not alone in terms of experiencing suffering, but the way that this sutra or Buddhism can help us, look at suffering from different angle. Like our Zen teacher Thich Nhat Hanh say, suffering is like mud that we can grow lotus, right? So we use the mud to grow lotus. We don't try to ignore suffering or resent suffering. We use suffering, make good use of our suffering. Okay. Is attachment to what one already has also a cause of suffering? Yes, attachment is a cause of suffering. It depends on how much you attach. For example, love is suffering if we don't know how to love, right? So you love someone, you get attached to them, but people separate, people die. So too much attachment to that person will cause tremendous suffering. So I would say attachment is suffering, right? And a good amount of attachment is great, because a kid need attachment to feel love and to grow healthily mentally. In attachment theory, that young kids need parents, need to feel the attachment to grow into a healthy adult. Without that kind of attachment, there will be some dysfunction in the future. Okay. How would you define contentment when we follow another's perspective? I'm not sure if I understand Tan's question here. What do you mean when we follow?
So, like, if I were, let's go back to the restaurant example. If I was following my friend's perspective on the restaurant, how would you define contentment on that? So if I was following their opinion, their views on if that restaurant was good or not, how would you define that, Thay?
So the purpose of going to a restaurant is to eat, right? And maybe that day the chef was not happy with his family, or he did something that he did something wrong, so he cooked bad food, and you have to kind of eat that food, and you was not happy, right? So how do we feel content with that food? It's not to turn every negative things into positive things. It's not like that. It's like to look at that experience, to look and change our attitude in order to avoid the second kinds of suffering. So let's examine this. We are shot, the Buddha said, we are shot by 2 arrows. The first arrow is to be human. To be human, we experience suffering, right? We experience physical suffering, like we get disease sometimes, or someone in our family die. So that is the first kind of suffering of being human. But the second arrow can be avoided. So the second arrow is our attitude, our react toward that first experience, right? So already the bad food or bad service is already there. That is the first suffering, right? So you don't want to kind of complain. Maybe you can complain to help them to do better, but you don't want to suffer yourself, because you already have the first kind of suffering right there. It is hard to do, but it's just how you nurture you protect your mental health, because there's always something that we are not satisfied. There's always something that will test us. People cut you in the traffic, your boss yell at you, your child doesn't do what they are told. So there's always, you cannot avoid everything. How you do it is how your reaction to that is will determine how much suffering you will endure. So we cannot free ourselves from suffering, but we can suffer less than we should be, so that is where you find contentment, right? Yeah.
Thanks, Thay.
Yep. So like never being happy even if you have everything. Yes, even if you have everything but you're not content, you will not be happy, and I don't know anyone who is happy, if they are not content with what they have, you go and, if you know someone who is super rich, ask them. There will be some problems. There will be problems in their life. So yeah, we all experience suffering the first arrow, but the second arrow can be transformed. That depends on our practice, right?
Hey, I think you missed the question.
Say again.
I think you missed the question.
Which one?
Du Bao had one.
Oh, okay. My child is very picky with food. Okay, so man.
Sorry, Du Bao.
Yeah, so I know her. I know Du Bao's kid. You can ask her. Be appreciative of whatever she receives. When I was doing my master degree, right? The amount of coursework was so heavy, and I felt like I hated it, But then the one thing that I tricked my mind, or I tried to do, it was I look at the picture of those children in Vietnam who live in the mountain areas. So in order to go to school, they had to cross river, they had to climb mountain to go to school. For me, I step out of the house, get on a bus, sit there, people drive me to school and study. How could I complain? So that the complaints went away immediately. So for this kid, show her some picture of hungry kids. You see, people here don't have food. Now you have food and you are still, being picky. So sometimes we have to do it, that way to kind of see people's lives to be, content with what we have. If we're not strong enough to transform ourselves from inside, we have to use external help to to help us. Yeah. And if she's still picky, then she will be hungry and she will eat more at dinner or breakfast tomorrow. Yeah.
Thank you, Thầy.
Yep. Okay, so let's read the setting again, because it's important. Let's read and then imagine yourself in the setting, and visualize yourself there. Okay, and also visualize yourself in a good setting in your life, in a good setting that nurture your body and your mind. Okay, so I'd like to invite our friend Courtney Hall to please read the setting, and we'll return to this question again.
The setting. This is what I heard one time when the Buddha was staying in the monastery in Anathapindika's park in the Jita Grove near Sravasti with a community of 1,250 bhikkhus, fully ordained monks. That day, when it was time to make the rounds for alms, the Buddha put on his Sangati robe and, holding his bowl, went into the city of Sravasti to seek alms food, going from house to house. When the alms round was completed, he returned to the monastery to eat the midday meal. Then he put away his Sangati robe and his bowl, washed his feet, arranged his cushion, and sat down.
Thank you. All right, let's return to the question. We still have some more to go. All right, so could you please elaborate how we can make good use of our suffering? Can gratitude of mud transform it into a lotus? So how we can make use of our suffering? Because we all experience some kinds of suffering during our lifetime, right? Some sufferings are strong, some are mild, right? So it depends. If suffering is suffering like traffic or headache or mild ones, it is easy. But suffering that is hard, like losing someone or heartbreak, those are suffering that we have to we need times. It's not a one thing that we can use to kind of transform every suffering. So in the Buddhist tradition, we don't waste our suffering, right? We don't waste them because we have them, we endure them. So now, what come out of that suffering is important, because anyway we will suffer. Like David comment here. So practicing gratitude is one way to transform our suffering. So, for example, when we lose someone who we love dearly, right? Are we allowed to suffer? Yes, we are allowed to suffer. We grieve. But then, what comes out of that? Not immediately, but then during the process of grieving, what comes out of that? In Buddhism, something come out would be the impermanent nature of life. Everybody change, everybody eventually dies, right? And what are we going to do with the fact that we are going to die? That is one thing that comes out of suffering when seeing, someone we love passes away. But you shouldn't take that as a burden that I have to realize this immediately. No, you don't have to. But that is a process. That's a process for us to look deeply into that suffering, to learn what lesson or what come out of this suffering. And it's hard, it's long, it's hard, it's not easy, right? That's just like life. Life is a long process of suffering and transforming suffering into something meaningful. We don't waste our suffering, right? Like I said, transform suffering like we transform mud into lotus. Mud will be there, but how do we use that mud to grow lotus? Marble is beautiful, but we cannot grow lotus on marble, right? We have to grow lotus on mud. Mud is not fun to be, but it can be something that is nurturing to our lotus, right? So that's a process for suffering to be realized and to be transformed. Are there anyone else in the Anathapindika's park besides 1250 bhikkhus? I think there are, or maybe the Buddha teaches this sutra a couple days, and when people hear, people came. Maybe some lazy people comes. Maybe even deities, devas. In many sutras there are devas, invisible beings who came to listen to the Buddha's teaching. So I would say there are. And also when we finish the reading, at the end we see, you know, people like lay people, monks and nuns and devas and animals rejoice and practice the teaching. So there probably are, right? Okay, so those are the questions in the chats, and I'd like to open. Maybe no, I'll do something different with the time we have left. So let's do the breakout room. Okay, breakout room. Let me try to see if I can do, like, we have 29, so we do 4, 5, 7, 8 breakout room. Let's see. Let's give yourself 2 minutes. 3 minutes, and then we'll come back here to do the dedication of merit. Share something about your experience of suffering and how you transform your suffering. Okay? Let's do it. There are people who are still talking, so they're slowly coming back. That's the yearning. That's the yearning to talk, and that is suffering.
Recording in progress.
So did everybody have a chance to share? I don't think you know that there was enough time for everybody. But that was the first time we do this breakout room. I'll do this more as we go. Okay, so every class we will have at least 5 minutes for, maybe I'm being generous, 10 minutes for breakout room. So everybody, you know, has a chance to talk, to share. And I realized that the less people, the more time you have, and the more room we can create, right? So 2 people in a room can have more time if, you know, there are more to say. All right, thank you very much, everybody, for participating and being. So we will conclude this class with the dedication of merits. And Linh Huynh, please do the reading.
With gratitude, may the wisdom and compassion we nurture while exploring the Diamond Sutra illuminate our paths. With gratitude, may it lead us to deeper understanding, peace, healing, harmony, and joy for all living beings. With gratitude, may our dedication to learning and practicing the Buddha's teachings help lessen the suffering and guide ourselves and others towards enlightenment. With gratitude, may all find happiness, may all be free from suffering, may all beings reach enlightenment.
Thank you so much. And may all of you be healthy, be safe, and be happy. All right. Goodbye, everybody, and please have a good moment.
Yeah. Thank you, Thay.
Thank you, Thay.
Bye, Thay.
Thank you, Thay.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, Thay. Thanks, everyone. Hope the best.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Thay.
Okay.